Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. This is turning out to be box set week, and I can't help it. I can only report on what's out there. Yes, there are billions of individual discs coming, and I will talk about those too. But sort of the fun stuff, the things that collectors are going to go for, are now in boxes. A lot of it, that stuff is just coming and coming and coming. And as part of my peregrinations through various websites, Amazon's UK and America and Presto and these other ones, just to see what's still around, I stumbled across the most astonishing discovery, even more than the Stokowski box. You may not like it as much, but talk about astonishment. My astonishment was the Delius 150th Anniversary Edition. I mean, who'd have thunk it? Delius's 150th anniversary ended in 2012. And here we are 9 years later, and this sucker is still available. When so many other things by famous artists and famous composers have gone out of print, Warner, because this now says Warner on the latest incarnation of the box that I saw on Amazon, has seen fit to keep in print 18 discs. Oh my God, 18 discs of Delius. I was having dinner with a friend this evening, actually, and I said to him, I'm going to talk about the Delius box, 18 discs of it. And he just went, oh my God, no, not that. And, people do react that way to Delius. We have to be honest. And I'm telling all of you newcomer people, Delius is an acquired taste. He really is. Not because his music isn't beautiful. It's frequently gorgeous. It really is. And nature intoxicated and pantheistic and, all of that good stuff. No. The problem is it's just monumentally boring until you get to know it. That's the reality of the situation. Now, I know some of you will say, no, he's not boring. He's thrilling. And yes, there are moments that are thrilling, and I am going to perform one of the most thrilling. It comes from the tone poem Eventier. Are you ready? Here it is. Hey! That's the thrilling part, because the tone poem Eventier actually requires that the orchestra shout at the climax, or one of the climaxes. So yes, Delius can be exciting, even alarming, but more often than not, his music expresses tranquility, and more than that, it exists in a kind of rhythmless flow that just meanders on at a leisurely pace for the most part. And so you really, really need to understand the idiom and get used to it. But I am telling you, you can. And if you do, you're going to love it, because you'll just be in the mood that Delius happens to evoke. And when you do, when your mood and Delius's music are in harmony, it's magical. Absolutely magical. When they're not in harmony, you just want to slit your wrists. It's so dull. And that's just how you feel. And he's not the only composer, let's face it, whose music depends on your mood. It's just, the mood that Delius depends on may be less common to some of us than to others. And that's all I have to say about the composer. Let's talk about the music that's in the box, because this is 18 CDs. This is a lot of Delius. My friend also suggested that that's about 17 CDs more than you'll ever need. But I disagree. I think you could at least go for, 3 discs at a minimum for even normal collectors. And then after that, the sky's the limit. And there's stuff in here that's really quite surprising. It will surprise you, I guarantee it. So let's see what we get. Shall we do it this way, or I want to see which way I can see it best. Alrighty. Well, this doesn't tell you who the performers are, and that's really important, because in the universe of Delius conducting, there were 3 or 4 really great Delius conductors. There was Thomas Beecham, first and foremost. There was John Barbirolli, who was quite marvelous at it. There was Charles Mackerras, who was absolutely fabulous. There was Charles Groves, who was also absolutely fabulous. And to a certain extent, his amanuensis, I don't know how you pronounce that word, amanuensis, whatever they call that, the guy who helped him after he went blind write his stuff. His name was Eric Fenby. And he edited a lot of Delius's music too, and he is in here. All of these great Delius interpreters are very well represented in this set. So you're going to have wonderful performances, you really are. And there are some historical recordings as well, dating from the 30s and from the time when Delius was still with us. He actually died in, let's see, 1934. Okay, so he was almost with us, or, maybe still with us for part of the time. And those are usually Beecham recordings. And, Thomas Beecham is wonderful to hear at all times. So let's see what we get in our 18 CDs. First, you get all kinds of orchestral music. You get Winter Night, which is a sleigh ride, the March Caprice, Over the Hills and Far Away, Dance Rhapsody No. 2, Dance Rhapsody No. 1, and you get On the Mountains, which is Pa Viderna, or something like that in Norwegian or whatever language it's in, it doesn't matter. And that's all with the Royal Philharmonic and Thomas Beecham. Then you get, and this is really cool, frankly, there's a sort of snide comment that if you have to talk about music, it's probably not worth listening to. Well, there's some truth in that too. But there's some talking here that's really worth hearing. There's a promotional presentation by Thomas Beecham recorded in 1948 or 48 on the launch of the 78 RPM set of A Village Romeo and Juliet, the opera. And that's worth hearing. That's a discussion that's like lots of fun. And it's long. Oh my goodness, it's 6, 12, 16, 20, about 25, 26 minutes worth of chat about Delius. Some of you may find that far more interesting than the actual music. So, take that into consideration, why don't you? Okay, Disc 2 has A Walk to the Paradise Garden, A Song of Summer, the Ermelin Prelude, and Late Swallows, all with the Halle Orchestra, conducted by Sir John Barbirolli, very affectionately. Then you get 2 minutes and 35 seconds of him rehearsing Delius's Appalachia, or Appalachia, however you want to call it, doesn't matter. And this is lovely. This is variations on an old slave song. It's quite beautiful. And it ends with a chorus. And this is the Beecham recording, no, the Barbirolli recording, pardon me, with the Ambrosian singers in the Halle Orchestra. And the men of the Ambrosian singers sound about as un-Appalachian as anyone ever has. It's like, oh, we'll go down to the riverside. Oh, day, baby, do I. Oh, it's just awful. It's hilarious. But the performance itself is quite wonderful until the guys start singing. And even after that, you just sort of, enjoy it for what it is. It's hilarious. Anyway, Disc 3, Paris, the Song of a Great City. This is a big, yummy, Straussian tone poem. And Paris is also the place where Delius probably contracted syphilis. And he still thought it was a great city, or maybe that's why he thought it was a great city. We never know. This is with Charles Mackerras and the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic. Then you get In a Summer Garden with Vernon Handley, also a very fine Delian. And 2 pieces for small orchestra. Now, the 2 pieces for small orchestra contain Delius's most famous little orchestral work, On Hearing the First Cuckoo in Spring, and then Summer Night on the River. I always liked On Hearing the First Cuckoo. The main tune sort of sounds like, Goodbye, old paint, I'm leaving Cheyenne. Remember that? Kind of sounds like Delius. Then we get the intermezzo from Fenimore and Gerda. And just be glad we don't have to hear Fenimore and Gerda, the whole thing. Let's see. And then the piano concerto in C minor. Now, Delius's concerti have absolutely no cachet at all. Nobody likes them. Very few people play them who aren't British. The violin concerto is the best known. They happen to be lovely works. I actually enjoy them, I really do, but you just have to get used to the fact that, like most of Delius's music, there's no drama in these pieces. They just sort of flow like waves or ripples, just, coming out of a pond, with occasional little plops of a new rock to set up some new ripples, but within their own frame of reference, which is to say, Delius's idiom, they're quite lovely, and they're completely abstract, and it's interesting to hear how his normally, nature-inspired and programmatic works operate when they are shorn of any programmatic associations. It's the same music. It really is. It's just lovely music. Then we get, let's see, the Florida Suite. I love the Florida Suite. And Brig Fair, all done by the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra under Richard Hickox. Brig Fair is, of course, Delius's best-known large orchestral work, and a beauty it is. It's a set of variations on a folk song, and it's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Then we get, let's see here, Summer Evening, La Calinda, which was one of the world's most beautiful melodies. It's one of those talks. Go listen to it, because I can play you the whole thing there, and I do. Then the Air and Dance, and the Intermezzo and Serenade. These are all with the Northern Sinfonia with Richard Hickox. And then 2 aquarelles with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields and Neville Marriner. I mean, you hear these are really, really first-rate interpretations. They really are, all of them. There's nothing bad here, absolutely nothing. Then let's see, we get disc 5, Lebenstanz, Life's Dance, and the North Country Sketches. The North Country Sketches are absolutely a masterpiece. Some people consider it Delius's most characteristic late masterpiece. And here we have the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra under Sir Charles Groves, who was just a fantastic conductor. And all of this stuff, of course, is in the Sir Charles Groves box. If you already have that, you have his Delius, which is fantastic, and that may give you all the Delius you need, but it's wonderful to have it here. It really is. And then we have Seadrift, also with Charles Groves and John Noble with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. Beautiful, beautifully paced performance, like everything Groves did. He was just a master musician down to his fingertips, and he did beautiful work. And then we get Sinara, which is another vocal thing, with John Shirley Quirk, before he developed the quirk in his voice, and Charles Groves. Disc 6, the Violin Concerto with Yehudi Menuhin and the Royal Philharmonic under Meredith Davies, and the Double Concerto with Yehudi Menuhin and Paul Tortelier. Boy, they must have really bribed him to do it, but it's a lovely work, and it's nice to hear, again, with the Royal Philharmonic and Meredith Davies. And then the Cello Concerto with Jacqueline Dupre and Malcolm Sargent. These are classic versions of these works. And so if you're going to listen to them, these will make wonderful first encounters. They truly will. I mean, they really will. Then we have, let's see, Compact Disc 7, all works arranged by Eric Fenby, Delius's amanuensis, whatever he was. You get 2 pieces for flute and strings. You get something called dance. You get 5 little pieces for small orchestra. You get the sonata for string orchestra. That is a big work, and it's absolutely worth hearing. And it has fast mood music in it, which is really cool. So you should definitely hear that. And this is all with the Bournemouth Sinfonietta, conducted by Eric Fenby himself. And then you get the string quartet, which, not surprisingly, became the Sonata for String Orchestra. So you can compare them. You remember the same thing happened to William Walton's string quartet, which became his Sonata for String Orchestra. And that's with the Britten Quartet. It's absolutely a terrific performance. All right, 3 violin sonatas. How many people know the Delius violin sonatas? They are really lovely works. Very surprising. If you like delicate, beautiful chamber music, give these a shot. They'll surprise you, I'm telling you. And he wrote 3 of them like his best bud, who was Grieg. Delius was heavily inspired by Grieg and loved Grieg's music, and Grieg wrote 3 violin sonatas, and so did Delius. These are with Yehudi Menuhin and Eric Fenby at the piano. So you could bet they knew what they were doing, even if Menuhin wasn't, Menuhin had issues sometimes, you know what I mean? But the musicianship isn't in doubt. And then we have the Legend in E flat with Tasman Little, and the Cello Sonata. The Cello Sonata with Murray Welsh and Israela Margalit. Now, that's a nice pairing. Israela Margalit was a good pianist. I haven't heard from her in centuries. She was married at one point to Lauren Mazel, if memory serves correctly. And then we have this little dance for harpsichord. Believe it or not, he wrote a dance for harpsichord. And the harpsichordist is none other than Igor Kipnis, So like I said, even for these little pieces, they're getting seriously major people to play them, which is awfully nice. Then there are a whole bunch of part songs and vocal things, short little songs, and I'm not going to get into these in detail because there's lots and lots of titles. But Delius was a good songwriter. You can imagine from his orchestral pieces. He selected his poetry with care, and the music is often very touching. And let's see, what else have we got here? We're already on disc number 10, Eventyr. That's the one I gave you the performance excerpt from. Hey! There you go, the excerpt from Eventyr. That's about it's subtitled Once Upon a Time, but it's one of those sort of Baxian, remember the planet Baxia? Well, this was sort of like a meteor that fell to Earth from the planet Baxia, and Delius called it Eventyr, and it's one of these dark twilight trolls and dwarf things. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. It's a terrific piece. Then the incidental music from Hassan, which is absolutely marvelous. A terrific, large, extended suite. There's a lot of music there. And then we have, let's see, Songs of Sunset. Some more choral works now. The Songs of Sunset, which are what they sound like. Songs about sunset. And an arabesque, which is another choral work. And let's see, the singers, oh my God, Janet Baker, John Shirley Quirk, the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra and Choir, and Sir Charles Groves. Doesn't get better than that, folks. It really doesn't. And then A Mass of Life. Holy mackerel. Words from Nietzsche's Also sprach Zarathustra. Makes me drool just saying it. And this is also the performance with with Charles Groves, which is still non-pareil in my opinion. There's a really good one on Chandos from Hickox too, but I think this one is still the best on average. And again, it's Nietzsche. What's not to love? It's A Mass of Life. It takes its time. It's one of those interesting English choral works, but it's not like a dreary biblical oratorio type thing. It sounds like Delius, which is all to the good if you like Delius. And the soloists again are marvelous. Heather Harper, Helen Watts, Robert Tier, Benjamin Luxon. I mean, you're not going to get better singing than that. And then Delius's Requiem and the Idyll, Once I Passed Through a Populous City. Again, Heather Harper, John Shirley Quirk, and the Royal Choral Society, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra under Meredith Davies. A Song Before Sunset with Malcolm Sargent and the Royal Philharmonic. Songs of Farewell with Malcolm Sargent and the Royal Choral Society. And then we're on disc 14 and we start getting to the operas. Oh dear. The operas are a push. Let's not kid ourselves, because they lack muscle. Delius's music generally lacks muscle, but you want an opera, you want to have he tries. I give him credit. He tries. He tries in Coanga, this first opera, which From Whence Cometh La Calinda, the dance that I played, is one of the world's most beautiful melodies. And these are all very, very well-sung performances. Again, this one with Coanga is Charles Groves. And they're well cast, and everyone's doing their best. Whether you find it a lost cause or not, I leave it to you to find out. Then there's the Song of the High Hills. That's a late work for wordless choir and orchestra, and it's incredibly evocative and atmospheric. I love the Song of the High Hills. And this again is Charles Groves. Then we get A Village Romeo and Juliet. That's his most famous opera, to the extent any of his operas are famous. And that contains, the walk to the Paradise Garden. This is a performance conducted by Meredith Davies. These are all the stereo remakes, because Beecham also did A Village Romeo and Juliet, but it was in crappy sound. And one thing you cannot have with Delius is bad sound, because his orchestration, his sense of texture, his instrumental combinations are all very subtle and very highly nuanced, and you got to be able to hear them well without distraction. And so that's a lovely performance. And let's see what else we have. Oh, the Paradise Garden. Yeah, they die. It's Romeo and Juliet. They all die. And then we have an illustrated talk by Eric Fenby, all about Delius with extracts of his music, which is lots of fun. I mean, these bonus items are really kind of intriguing, and they hadn't been available for like a billion years. So it's really nice to have them if you're a Delian, if you're a Delius person. And then we get, oh wow, just when you thought it was safe, you do get Fenimore and Gerda. Oops. You get the intermezzo at the beginning, and you get the whole blasted opera later on. Oh well. You'll just have to deal with it. I mean, I got to tell you, though, Fenimore and Gerda are sung by Elisabeth Söderström. That's not bad. You know, Elisabeth Söderström fans probably do not know that she did Fenimore and Gerda by Delius, but she was a real Kunstdiva, and she would do these things. And that's why she did all that Janacek stuff at the time when no one was doing Janacek. And she brought 100% conviction to everything she did. And it's just splendid to hear her doing Fenimore and Gerda. And Robert Tears in here, and, you know, lots of like, you know, the usual British people. And they do very well. This is with actually the Danish Radio Symphony Orchestra and Danish Radio Chorus in Meredith Davies. And let's see, you get, well, lots of Fenimore and lots of Gerda. And that is the Delius edition. I think by then we're down to disc 18. Are we? Disc 17, disc 18? Yes! That's it. Fenimore and Gerda is only 79 or 76 minutes long. Thank God. On one disc. And I know I sound sort of facetious, and I'm banging into my little gong here. And, you know, I am, because much as I love Delius, and I do, I understand that there will be people who just can't abide it. And it's odd, isn't it? Because, you know, probably more people can abide Schoenberg. You know, Delius just has a style that was so personal to him, and which became so sort of hermetic as he got older, that you either enter its world or you don't. And I keep saying that, but it's really, really true. It's not that it's difficult, but it takes time, and you have to be willing to give it the time and approach it on its own terms. In a way, perhaps it's a little bit like Bruckner, you know, him, where nobody thought you could listen to Bruckner. And all of a sudden he seems to be popular. Of course he's not. I mean, not among normal people, but you know, people are playing it a lot. They're doing it a lot. There's no reason why people couldn't play more Delius and get away with it, because a lot of the music is just incredibly attractive, beautifully written, and delightful to listen to. And actually, although it does exude a sort of timelessness and stillness quite often, most of it is not inordinately long. And there are exquisite miniatures, besides On Hearing the First Cuckoo in Spring. So give it a shot. I mean, I understand if you do not want an entire 18 CDs in a jumbo box, but I got to tell you, on Amazon, this was $49 on Amazon US, and it was 60 something from Presto. And I just think that's an incredible deal. And now I know that I've said that. From what you've told me, it will immediately vanish from availability, and will be, to the extent it exists, it'll be selling for $1,149.12. I can't prevent that if that's what's going to happen. Maybe it won't happen for Delius. You never know. And only the hardcore desperados will have a chance to get this. I don't know. But I'm very happy to be able to talk about it and present it to you. And I do plan on doing some other talks about individual works, because Delius is often best experienced one work at a time. I did do a talk on Brig Fair, and there's plenty more stuff to talk about. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me, and good luck getting your 150th, well, now it's the 161st, or something like that, 159th anniversary edition box. Amazing, just amazing. Take care.